Hi guys, today in this tutorial we will basically create this to-do list, and this is looking awesome project. And you can see whenever we type anything here and we press on that button, you can see here it is showing the option, and again when I take any other word, it would add it here in that list. And as much things we add here, as much things it would display here. This is our to-do list, and whenever took something and we would click on that delete icon, it would basically line through that thing that we have taken or worked for. So now it is successfully done. So one thing more, that whenever I click on this empty input field, it would not make any addition here, and it is showing here that it must be filled. So now you can see that this is looking awesome. We will create all this project in this tutorial. So without wasting any time, let's get started and move to our VS Code. So you can see that we have basically an app component that is being rendered, and inside app component we are going to write all the code. At the very first time, I am just going to type here RAFC and press enter. So here you can see that it is automatically giving all the code. So here I have to export default app, and here we have basically an app world. So let me see, is it working or not? And you can see that here it is showing us app. So what we have to do at the very first time, we have to just take a div here, and inside this div we have further a div. This div is basically our main div, which is holding the background. So I am just giving it class as main div, and to that div I am going to give here class as center div. I have already written here CSS part. This is for main div and this is for second div, and this is just for responsiveness of that div. That center div. Basically we are going to set here its width in different devices. That for small devices its width would be 95%, and if devices are greater, then its width would be 25%. So now what I have to do here, I have to basically take here h1 tag, h1, and here I am going to type to-do list app. I'm not going to write app, I'm just going to type here to-do list. Just press Ctrl S and move to our browser. One thing more, that I have not imported here CSS file. Import here double quotation dot and /, and here I have to type index.css. just press Ctrl S, and now you can see that it is showing such an output. This is basically our main div, and this is our second div. This is basically box, which is our second div. I am just going to type here one break so that it should be a little bit lower. controllers. Now it is looking awesome. So what we have to basically do here, I have first type here an input field. Here I am going to take again a break because there should be some space from upper and input type. Input type text, and here I am going to close it. And I am also taking here as placeholder add an item. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output. You can see that this is looking awesome now. So I have already created a CSS part for this input type. So let me show you. This is for h1 tag that we have created just to display the to-do list, and this is our input tag. This is a complete CSS for our input tag. Control S, and we basically need a button here that whenever we type anything here, you can see that it is typeable now, and whenever we type anything and we press on that button, it should display the values here. So I'm just taking a button here. You can see this is our button code. So let me take here a button. So we don't need to write here break button, and here I am just taking as plus. Just press Ctrl S, and now you can see that it is looking awesome, and on hover the button is looking as green. I think I have shown you. This is basically button hover, background color is green, and here I have to do some minor but main changes. Here basically I have to do some changes because this is uncontrolled input, so we have to make it as controlled input. Control input is such an input which is controlled by our React.js. In our React.js tutorial, so here I am just typing value I am just giving here input text. Here you can see that we have a value, and to work with that value we should have an onChange function. So here I am going to take here as onChange. So I am just typing the name, add item, add function, and here I am going to display that add function const add function. I am just making it as fat arrow function is equal to, here we have to give curly braces. So whenever any change occurs in our input type, that function would be called. So we have to work basically with that value. So how can we do that? We basically need here a useState, and I have created complete tutorial on our forms basically. So this is, I have already told you that why we need value and onChange in our forms tutorial. So here I am going to take const and input text, comma, here I have to type set input text is equal to useState state, and now you can see that this is imported from React as well. So we have to make it as empty. Its initial value is empty. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and here you can see that whenever we type anything, it is basically unable to write here anything. The reason I have told you that initial value is basically 0 of this useState. So whenever any change occurs in this input field, this function would be called, and whenever this function is called, we have to basically pass here that set input text. So here I am going to pass any event. I can pass any parameter, it's up to us, but the any parameter that we are going to pass here is basically an event. That event would be occurred whenever any change happens on that input text field. So here I am just going E, and sometimes you can see that here some developers write event. So I am just going to write event. So here I am going to take here as event dot target dot value, and by this complete code we are basically going to get the data from that point with the help of that function which is called by onChange. So let me first display it, that how is it looking like in our console. I came here at the other side. So I'm just going to take here parentheses, and here I have to type console dot log. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output. We are in console, so you can see that whenever we click here, all the data is going to show here at console. So by determining these things, we can say that now we are unable to fetch the data which we are basically going to type here at input text field. So here I have to set that value. Set input text. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output now. And now you can see that we are able to type anything here. So this is just because of our useState and value. Now this input tag is basically controlled by our React. So we cannot say that this is uncontrolled. So what we have to do here, we basically want that whenever we type anything here and we press on that button, these items should be displayed at this place. So how can we do that? After that button, we have to display these values. And here I am just going to take order list because we are going to display it in orders. Order list, and here I am just going to take list, simple list. But one important thing that we are basically going to make list again and again whenever the user enter the values. So what we have to do here, we first have to create an array with that input field, and we have to display the array here with the help of fat arrow function. So I'm just going to take here another useState const add item and set add item is equal to useState, and I am going to create these useState as array. No, this useState is basically an array. So whenever we click on that button, there should be a function which is called, and what is the basically function of that function, which would be called on by clicking on that button. On click, and I am going to type add function. No, add, this is add input function, but this function would be huge. So add item, I cannot write add item because I have written here as a parameter of useState. So what can I write here? I can write any meaningful function, so that by looking at that function you will come to know that this is basically a function used for add some items. Add item function, add item function, and here I am going to define that add item function is equal to, again we have to write here fat arrow function. I'm just typing console.log to check if our function is basically working or not. I'm just showing here as clicked. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and here you can see whenever I click on that button, it is showing here as clicked. So now you can see that our function is correctly working. So what we basically have to do here, we have written that function successfully. So whenever we click on that button, which is add item button, whenever we click on that button, that function should take the values as an array, and it should display the values here. So how can we do that? I'm just going to take here as set item, and I can pass any value. Why this value? Let me tell you. I'm just going to take here as set item, let me see the spellings. Set add item was basically, just press Ctrl S, Ctrl C, and we have to paste it here and give here parentheses, and again we have to give here parentheses. I will tell you the reason. I'm just going to take here as a fat arrow function, and I'm going to pass any value here. I'm just taking previous value, pre-value. So what is basically that pre-value? I have explained this thing in our forms tutorial. So whenever we pass any value as a parameter with that set state, this value is basically showing to our previous values, which are of add item in this case. So here we have to type inside that set item, and we have that function, and that function would return something to that set add item. So here the very first thing that I have to do, I am just typing return, 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 and here I am going to take parentheses. So inside these parentheses I am going to return an array. So I am just taking 3 dots, and I am taking here previous pre-value, and again I am giving comma, and now I have to type here as basically we have the current value in this input text. Just press Ctrl C, because this input text is working with that input text field. So here I have created an array, and with that array I have to type the value which is currently fetched by our input type. Ctrl V, and now what is basically happened, I have already told you what does these 3 dots mean. We have basically a previous array, previous values array, and this previous values array, we don't gonna read all the array. We have just paused these 3 dots, and we have written the name of that array, which is passing here as a parameter, and with that array I have given comma, and the current value that we have basically at the same time we are getting. So this is in our input text. So I have also passed it here. Now set add item value, set add item, this is basically an array which is going to update that add item. Now to that add item we have a complete array which is currently passed, and along with our all the previous values that we have passed in that array. So here I am just going to take array map. I hope you came to know everything clearly, because I have told all the things in our forms tutorial in detail. So if you feel any confusion, you can move to our form tutorial to understand what does these 3 dots mean, and how is this passing as array, and how can we pass any parameter with that set state. This is basically our useState initial value, and this is our set state, which is updated value, which is basically going to update that value. So here I have written, and at this point I am just going to take fat arrow function. So what would fat arrow function do? It would make every element in that array separately, and it would show every element in our list here. I am just going to type here li. Basically I am not going to type here li. I will write it inside the map array. So I am just typing here add item dot. This add item is basically an array in which we have all the values. this add item is being called here dot map, and here I have to return parentheses, and again I have to write here parentheses. So inside these parentheses I am just typing value as well. I am taking it as fat arrow function. That array would return something, and I am going to take here as li, and inside that li I am just going to pass val. So one thing more that you have to do, all this array should be in curly braces because this is our mapping function. We don't need basically here curly braces. Just press Ctrl S, and if you don't know what is basically array map, I have explained it in our Netflix series tutorial, if you remember. So we had basically this as array, this add item is an array, and dot map, I am going to map that array. So I am just going to pass one element. So this first element is going to show basically the elements inside that array. And if we have another parameter, this is index, and as well if we have third parameter, this is basically going to show here with which array we are basically working. So we have here 3 parameters by default. So I am just going to take here as one parameter because I need only elements inside that array. So here I have written all the elements which are passed by that first parameter. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output. And here when we type anything, let's say I am just typing apple, and when I click on that button, you can see that here it is showing us the output. But one thing, whenever we add any item, that input text field should be empty by default. Whenever we click on that button, that value is going to display here, but it is not going to display all the things. I have written here apple. Let's say I am going to type here an apple. It is just typing val. So let me show what is basically the error here. So there is a minor mistake because this is our JavaScript part. So every JavaScript part that we have to write here should be in curly braces. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Here whenever we type apple or any other word is up to you. So when I click on that button, now you can see that this apple is successfully uploaded here. But the thing that we have to do now, this input field should be empty now after adding that element inside the list. So how can we make that element as empty? This is add item function. So whenever this add item function is called, and this add item function is going to write all the codes here. One thing that we have to do now, set, let me make here set input text. Just press Ctrl C and this function is called whenever any change occurs in our input text field. So whenever all the code is written in this array, now we have to basically set the value of input type again. Here I am just going to make it as empty. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output. I am again writing here as banana. So I clicked here, and now you can see that banana is added here successfully, and this input text field is empty now. So let me show you the CSS that we have applied. I think I have told you all the CSS already. So this is for order list, and all the remaining CSS is here. So let me show you the output here. You will see here an error in our inspect. This is basically not an error. This is for the betterness of our React developers. So here you can see that it is showing here an error. Child in a list should have a unique key prop. So it is saying that there should be a prop which is known as key, and this key should be unique for every child in that list, which is basically going to display here. So how can we do that? I have already told you that this map array, where is map array? This map array basically working with the 3 parameters by default. So the very first thing that we have to do, as we know that React is all about components, so I am just going to take another component here. That component should be, you can write any component, is up to you. I'm just writing addition.jsx. Here I am just typing RAFC, and I have already told you what is basically that extension. With the help of that extension, we are able to type RAFC, and all the code would be shown here automatically. Export default, and here I have to type one mistake that we have done. The first element, the first letter of that word should be capital. I have to make here as capital addition, and here I have to also type addition. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output. I'm not basically going to our output till now, but I am going to work with all that code here. I'm just going to copy that code, Ctrl X, and here I am going to paste that code, Ctrl V, and I have to pass here props, and here I have to write props dot value. Just press Ctrl S, and here we have to import that component as well. Import addition from addition, and here I am going to use that addition. addition, and I'm going to use self-closing tag, and here now I have to take as add. Just press Ctrl S and move in our app component, and inside our app component I have to write import add from add, and here I have to take as add. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Apple, it is not going to show anything here. We have not passed any value here, so I'm just going to pass here as text, because inside that component we have to pass something. Text is equal to, I'm just going to type here as well. Just press Ctrl S. Add is working props.val, props.text that we have passed here. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and now you can see that we are able to type anything. Banana, here banana is successfully added, and let me show you the error. Now you can see that this is the same error that we have. So this is not the error I have already told you. This is just for better experience of developers. So here I am just going to take as key is equal to, here I am going to pass index, that I have already told you that by default the map array function have 3 parameters, and I have told you every parameter and its function separately. I have explained this array map deeply in our Netflix series. So here I am just taking index. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output now. Now you can see that error has gone. Apple, so apple, banana, and here I am just going strawberry. I think there is a spelling mistake, but ignore this thing. For the time being I was just showing you the error. Let me show you the power of that index that we have done. In my more tools, I am just moving in my components, and inside that components you can see that we have basically an add component here, and inside that add component we have keys 0, 1, 2. We are basically going to play with these keys instead of determining by counting 1, 2, 3 which index number is basically that. We can come to know everything easily here, that the last index have the last element have index number as 2, so it is showing here 2, and it is also showing that that add component is basically a child of that app component. So inside that app component we have props and states as well. It is showing here that how basically our hooks is working. This state is initial state, and this is empty, and this state is an array which is an updated state. And now you can see that all the data is showing here as an element. So let me make anything here. I'm just writing orange, and now you can see that whenever we type here orange, Here this state is automatically fetching that data, and whenever I click on that button, that state would be empty by default as we have written in our function, and this orange would be at that place. So let me show you. Now you can see that this orange is here inside this is basically our state, and inside this states array this element now is here orange. So this is about our React components tool basically, that I have already downloaded the extension as React developers tool. Now what we have to do basically, and you can see that whenever we click on that button, it is showing here automatically anything, but we have not written here anything. So how can we basically validate this thing, that whenever this input field is empty and we click on that button, nothing should be happened. So this is just because of our forms. Here I have not used forms, that's why it is showing such behavior. If I use form tag inside both of these elements, you will see that there will be a validation that whenever this is empty, our input text field is empty, and we click on that button, it can display the message as input field is required. So you should have to type anything here. So for the time being, ignore this thing, because now we have to type here as delete, because if we go in the market and we take we take bananas, so now we want it should be deleted. Basically we don't gonna to delete it, we can also type it as line through. So how can we make it as line through? So we have to take here as icon. I am just going in our material UI. So I have already installed material UI. Let me show you in our package.json. Now you can see that these are basically from our material UI that we have installed in our this project. Here I am just going inside Chrome, and here I have to type material UI icons. Material UI icons. Here I am just taking as delete option. Delete. What option should I use here? I'm just going to use that option. So I'm going to copy that and paste it inside my code. Here I'm going to import that component. Just press Ctrl C. One thing more, that basically we don't need it to be displayed here. Ctrl X. Just press Ctrl S to save it, and I am going to import it inside my add component, because we are basically going to display it with that app component. Just press Ctrl V, and here I am going to import it. Ctrl C, and here I am going to take span. Ctrl V. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output, that how is it looking like. Add. Oh, it is displaying we should have to write it as a component that we have missed the point. Now just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Here it is showing the option. So let me make some CSS. Class name, and here I am going to import index.css. Import index.css. Just press Ctrl S, and here inside index.css I am basically going to work. Here I am just typing COMP hover. Let me make on this hover behavior, it should be as color red. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output. I am clicking here. It is not working. Let me see what is basically the we have not written here class COM. Ctrl S. And now you can see that it is working successfully. So I am going to take here some margin. To type again that component, Ctrl V. Now press Ctrl S and move to our output. Now you can see that it is working successfully. We can also remove this number, but for the time being I am just going to take it as it is. So here inside that component, what we have to do now, I am just going to take that span tag. So I want whenever the user click on that delete button, there should be a line through on this text. How can we do that? Here inside that span, I am going to take on click, because we cannot write that on click inside that component. So I basically want whenever the user click inside that span, inside that span we have that delete forever icon. So here I am just going to type del, and here I am going to take const del is equal to fat arrow function, and I can simply write here as del as done, del done, and what is came here, del done true. So here I am going to take an option that inside style component, whenever that del done, whenever that del done is basically true, what we have to do, first of all, at the first time Let's ignore this thing. I'm just going to display here as text text style, text decoration, text decoration, and text decoration should be line through. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Del done is not defined. Const del done is not defined here. So let me remove it for the time being, and I'm going to show the value. Del is not. I have to remove that as well. No, I don't gonna remove all the code. I just gonna to make it as comment. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Now you can see that this is successfully line over, line through basically. Now I want this should be line through whenever we click on that icon. So how can we do that? I am going to make it as uncomment. So we can also write it like that, but I want it is not like more efficient. So I am going here a straight, and you know what is basically the straight. I'm just going to take here as useState. Const del done, and here set del done is equal to useState false. Initially that del done should be false, but that set del done should make it as true. Just press Ctrl S, but nothing would happen because we have not written here any condition till now. I'm just typing here del done. If del done is true, then show line through. Otherwise, you should have to display none. We basically don't need comma here. We have to write here this type. This is colon. Control S. And now when we click on del icon, now you can see that we have successfully line through. So one thing more that I wanted to tell you, there should be a validation that whenever we click on that button, it is automatically showing here as empty, though this thing should not be done in our actual applications. So our actual applications should be well defined and well structured to work on these applications efficiently. So let me move in our app component, and inside that app component, here we have to take as function Control X, not function, we have to use here as form. Just press Control V, and here I have to type on submit add item function, and we have to remove that function from here. type is equal to submit. We have to make its type as submit. So whenever this function is called, one thing more that we have to do, I'm just passing it here as e. This is also representing as event. So I have basically to avoid it from refreshing. I have already told you in my form tutorial, e dot prevent default just press Ctrl S and move to our output. It is showing here an error. What is error? e.prevent default is not a function. On submit, that function is called, and in only on change. So we must have to write here as e dot p r e just press Ctrl S and move to our output. Now you can see that this is successfully working now. I think there was a spelling mistake. So whenever I click on that icon, it is successfully line through, and still whenever we click on that icon, it is showing here as empty. So now I have to make it as required. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output now. And now you can see that whenever I click on that empty text field, it is showing here as please fill out this field. Apple. I'm just going to enter, and here when I click on empty, it is not working. It is basically requiring some data here. Banana. So whenever I took apple from market, I can simply click on that icon and it is now line through. So this was all, and I hope you understood it. And here you can see that these numbers are basically not going to show any good sense about our this application. So how can basically we remove this counting? We have to move in our order list, and inside this order list we have to make some CSS that list style as none. Just press Ctrl S and move to our output, and now you can see that there is no any list style here. So I am going to type orange, and anything is up to you. So you can see this is looking awesome now, and whenever I click on any icon, it would line through to that element. This is basically a complete array, And let me show you what is this array basically in hooks. In our components we have app, and this is our array that is dynamically created. So I hope you understood everything.